always used to lay you clean up the messes. Down on my knees, thought I couldn't stand up on my own. Turns out sometimes you're stronger alone.
An uprising can be an act of rebellion or revolt. It's an act of taking a stand, often with the goal of elevating oneself and maybe gaining some sort of independence. If you've left a cult, you've already started your own personal uprising. You've walked away from an abusive system in search for greater freedom. Uprisings aren't easy, are they? They require the courage to face your fears and to do new things. Nobody hands you an uprising. You don't get a knock on your door and someone is there with an uprising. It's something that you have to do for yourself. You have to take your power back. You don't just fall into an uprising. It's a conscious and concentrated effort to rise up by taking a stand for something of value. Uprisings are often found in the face of abuse. And of course, abuse can take many forms. The specific type of abuse that we're going to talk about today is financial abuse or financial control. It's not one that we talk about a lot in the XJW communities. I mean, I see it come up where people are struggling with it. I don't see a lot of focus specifically on that. And it's a shame because money equals opportunity. And there are a lot of people in this community that have been robbed, quite literally, of the opportunity to find their personal independence because of that financial control. How are you supposed to gain financial independence of any type when you don't even know what your skills are that someone might pay you for? How can you find a job when you're stuck in a relationship that is controlling? Or maybe you live out in the middle of nowhere and options are even more limited by geography and population. What are you going to sell to a prospective employer or customer when you've been told your whole life that nothing you do is ever good enough? Why would you ever reach out for more when likely you don't think you're worth it? How can you price a product or a service or even ask for a raise at work if you feel like maybe you're good at this thing, but it requires standing up and saying, hey, I have value, and maybe I can even put a number on that? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Shimwell. You can hear my full story on my original podcast called This JW Life. Right now, you're listening, or maybe you're watching me on my YouTube channel called Shunned Podcast, where I help people gain catharsis by telling their real life lived experiences in depth so that other people might not feel so alone. I've been a cult recovery coach now, working with 4 to 6 individuals a day since 2019, helping people to heal, helping people to move forward in their lives. I ran recovery groups for years in the community. I had a Facebook support group with thousands of people in it for years. My goal throughout all of this is to bring real help into the XJW community, to bring maybe some of the very things that I wish I would have had when I was leaving and trying to figure all of this out. I actually ended up leaving the Cult of Jehovah's Witnesses at the age of 38 years old. That was in 2015. I actually formally disassociated from the cult along with my wife, and we've been together and out and free ever since. Recently, I was invited to apply for inclusion in a fellowship of community leaders from various religious disaffiliates, from insular groups, and I was chosen as one of the first ever fellows to participate. In working with the Rights and Religions Forum, I'll link to them in the description, and through this first ever fellowship initiative, I'm going to be working with individuals from Amish, Muslim, Pentecostal, ultra-Orthodox Jewish, and polygamist Mormon communities. The fellowship holds hope of resources that may help each of us along the work that we're already involved in for our particular respective communities, and potentially some collaborative projects as well. I'm looking forward to working with these courageous individuals, and it's a real honor to be included and to add the voice of former Jehovah's Witnesses as warranted. I decided to create a new project, a new initiative to bring into this community as part of my particular participation. It's hard to thrive in life after Jehovah's Witnesses or any other abusive group if you can't first survive. You know, often people that have had trauma earlier in their lives may not even call it into mind until later in life when they get in a more stable position. And internally, it's like their brain taps them on the shoulder and is like, hey, you know what, we've got this thing back here we need to look at, and I think you're ready now. Um, in our case, having some sort of financial stability is often the key to moving forward, or at least one key. And our abusers know this. From the domestic abuser that prevents their partner from having a job or maybe accessing the bank accounts, to the cult that holds us down and discourages you at every level, from moving up in the company to maybe gaining an education that could allow you to get valuable skills necessary to provide more valuable services so that you could have more economic stability. We were all held back. So, this is where I'm going to announce my project, my vision for a new initiative that I'm calling the Uprising Project. Now, if you don't mind, let me have some of your time here, and we're going to paint a vision. There's a lot of pieces to this, but it's important to spell all of these out so you understand and know where this is going and how you too can help. So, we're going to talk about the following 5 things. 1, the needs that I see in the community. 2, what my vision is and how I think it will help. 3, what it's going to take to actually get this thing going. 4, the particular path that I've decided on and the reasons behind that path. And 5, how you can actually get involved, not just today, but also in the future as this thing gets built out. So let's do this thing. Number 1, let's go ahead and talk about the vision, starting with the needs that I see first and the benefits that hopefully we're going to be able to offer to individuals who take part in this project. I see a lot of people that are stuck, like I mentioned earlier, because, maybe they need a job, but they don't know where to go. Many of us weren't really exposed to much of the breadth of job opportunities and various industries that even exist in this world. Additionally, likely nobody has helped you to realize what skills you already possess, much less help you to develop any new skills. So, what are you going to put on a resume? Heck, what's a resume even look like? What happens in an interview? In a world where we were all told that we were never good enough, where most of us were made to feel as though we had nothing to offer as a means of keeping us down and preventing us from being able to leave this controlling environment, how in the world is somebody supposed to go make a case for their own virtues and find a decent job? It's a difficult thing to do, isn't it? In a similar way, but a slightly different path, I see a lot of tremendously talented people that have small business ideas, but they can't promote themselves because it means selling others on how great they are and why they should work together. Again, it's hard to pitch what you have is worthwhile when maybe you don't feel like you have anything special to offer anyway. It doesn't mean that you don't have anything special. That's hard to feel like things are special when you've been told that nothing you ever do is special, especially if it's a positive thing, right? One area I see people struggle with that contributes to is charging for their work. It kind of betrays the lack of value that we were taught to see in ourselves and what we do. And it's a shame because that messaging is really holding a lot of us back. There's so much untapped talent in this community. There's so many people that could light up the world if they weren't so afraid to shine. And there's so much opportunity to rise together in this realm. There are also a lot of people out there who've already made some progress on a particular business, or maybe they're self-employed in some particular industry, but they may be lacking one thing that is crucial to a lot of success, and that's a network, right? We've all heard the old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But what if you don't know anybody because you've been shunned by literally everyone that you've ever known? Number 2, let's go ahead and talk about my vision to address some of this and potentially more if this takes off and grows. So, one goal that I have is to try to bring in employers that would be happy to hire hungry individuals that are just looking for a chance to prove themselves. I personally believe that former Jehovah's Witnesses would be great at any kind of customer service work. We've been taught our whole lives how to talk to people. Many of us grew up with difficult people in our lives and have had to manage personalities and learn to de-escalate situations. And we were also taught how to speak to the general public. So I plan on reaching out to companies, particularly companies that might have remote work, because our population of ex Jehovah's Witnesses are so spread out, to see if we can bring some opportunities into the community to find gainful employment. I also want to bring resources to help people with their mindset around applying for work, help with things like resumes, help with the interview process as well. That can be applied anywhere. So it's time to go get what we want. At some point, we're going to have to start asking for that. And all we need is to be empowered in order to do that. So let's get on it. For those who are paving their own path, maybe with some sort of small business, it's time to get out of your own way. I plan on having monthly meetups where we can talk about mindset, marketing, focus, growth, and many other things. I want to create a directory of ex Jehovah's Witness businesses, from services to products, where we can all go look for individuals to do business with. I want to make it easy to find these individuals that have worked hard to overcome their past, and together we can all help lift them up. I actually have companies that reach out to me all the time that want to put ads on my content, my podcast, my YouTube channel. I've resisted all of this to date, but if I had an opportunity to do so and to do it in a way where you and I can get a quick ad from maybe another ex Jehovah's Witness or someone similarly disaffiliated who had something that they were trying to share that maybe we could all benefit from, well, that's the kind of ad I would love to do. I would love to help lift other people up from that financial control. And I think that everybody would support that kind of an ad. In fact, I'm considering doing entire videos on my Shun podcast YouTube channel to help highlight some of these individuals and to help showcase what they're doing so that others might work with them. In some cases, maybe you picture like the home shopping network of sorts, but on a YouTube video, allowing somebody from our community to showcase what they do, maybe show the amazing jewelry they create or whatever it may be, so that you can patronize their business if you're looking for something like that. I want to create a win-win situation for everyone. In addition to all this, I plan on starting a Facebook group with the explicit focus of helping people in these specific areas to work together to help one another, where people can bounce ideas and questions off of others, where people can network, where people can learn. I plan on creating video resources to help people with financial skills like budgeting, looking forward to retirement, and other things like insurance. There may be offers from companies that I can bring in to help with things like insurance or whatever the case may be that we can consider. Those of you that know my personal story know that I had to do a complete financial 180. I had to do a complete turnaround because I was deeply in debt financially. It was a big part of my waking process. Going from deeply in debt to now being completely debt free, house and everything, which is why I can do what I do today and help people at the rates that I can help them at, because I set up that path for my own freedom. And I want to help you have a chance for a better future as well. I want to bring in the tools and the resources so that you can live a better story. I can also see bringing in some marketing and advertising professionals that might be able to help with some done for you packages. If you're having a hard time selling what you do, there might be others who could come in and help you with branding and messaging that could really start getting you in front of the right people if you struggle to do that on your own. And as you learn what that might look like, I can honestly think of a lot of resources that I could bring in, but this is more than enough to get off to a good start with the opportunity to grow as time goes by. Number 3. So now let's talk about the realities of making something like this happen. The execution of the aforementioned vision. Things like this don't just happen without active participation from others. It's going to take a lot of work on my part, which I'm willing and able to do. And I'm going to explain how I see this taking shape and what it might look like in reality beyond just this idea. Ideas are a dime a dozen. They're easy to come by. It's execution where the rubber meets the road and something actually happens. That's where value is created. So in this case, I can't do all of this alone. And if we want to see resources and have them come into the community, it's going to take some resources to bring those resources in. So let's talk about what that might look like. There's a lot of video content that needs to be created for this group. There are monthly meetups to prepare topical content for and to host. There are resources to be gathered for everything that I mentioned. There's a platform that has to be built to host all of this content on as a hub for it all. There's a Facebook group to create. There are prompts and post ideas to create to get that group involved and moving forward with conversation starters. There are always lots of emails and messages to field with any kind of project like this and to respond to. There are potential ad spots to create, video content to match. There are podcasts and YouTube updates that I'm going to have to create throughout this project as well. There are companies that I'm going to have to reach out to and hopefully have some productive conversations with. There's a directory that I mentioned that needs to be hosted and promoted and updated as new individuals come on board. There's a whole system that has to be created online to deliver all of this. And then that system and the website to host all of these things has to be maintained. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you how you can get involved today. And I'm hopefully going to have to field a lot of communications from you guys coming at me in that first step. But before we get to that, number 4, let's talk about the path that I've chosen and I've decided on and why I've decided on that particular path, that structure with which to create everything. You and I used to work for a large nonprofit called Watchtower, right? You were expected to give your time and effort in working for Watchtower, whether it was cutting the grass at the Kingdom Hall or cleaning it, or heck, maybe even building the Kingdom Hall itself, spending your time knocking on doors to promote their message. Maybe it was going out and doing some sort of natural disaster relief work and providing everything needed to do it on your own dime and your own time. You were expected to work for free, weren't you? That's not something that tends to be looked at fondly in the XJW community, is it, when we look back? We don't tend to sit around waxing poetically about all the time we gave for absolutely nothing in return. So, I have 2 paths that I considered for this project. First, I considered starting a nonprofit. I've actually faced pushback from people in the past on things like donating to my podcast and the work I do, because I don't have a nonprofit set up for it. People love a nonprofit, right? The sound of the word alone makes people feel warm and fuzzy inside, like they're doing something special. And I get that. In fact, I know people who run large nonprofit organizations, and the individuals that headed the idea of this fellowship that I mentioned earlier lead large ones for their respective communities. With that said, however, there are a lot of things that I looked at that made the nonprofit option very unattractive. I don't think that people often know what goes into starting and running an actual nonprofit. There's so much red tape, from the formation of a corporate structure to the appointing of a board and creating that, to all of the paperwork necessary to even apply for a nonprofit entity. Then I found out that to even start requesting funds from any state in the United States, I would have to register individually with each state, additionally, possibly having to file taxes separately in each state every year. That is madness. The amount of time wasting administrative tasks surrounding the formation of this alone is incredibly discouraging. Add to it the fact that right now the governmental agencies are so overwhelmed that I'm hearing that it can take up to 2 years easily just to get approved, if you do. And, that's just not how I work, nor is it what I want to see. I want to get going on this thing. Will I have to pay more taxes without a nonprofit? Sure. Will it save me, though, the money of paying professionals to manage all of the aforementioned headaches if I don't start a nonprofit? Yeah, it sure will. All of that adds up too. You might be saving money on the tax portion of things, but there's a lot of services that I would probably have to avail myself of to start something like this. And then once it's started, this nonprofit actually has to be funded, right? So then I would have to collect donations from somewhere. Ours is not a community with huge donors like some communities. We don't have exjw celebrities jumping in to donate large sums of money to the cause, at least that I know of. Many are struggling just to get by day to day, which is one of the very reasons that I'm creating this in the first place, right? So that it's not like we're sitting on piles and piles of money to help pay for resources. I've talked to others about this. I've done due diligence locally. I've floated ideas in front of local philanthropists that support nonprofits. And Jehovah's Witnesses as a group don't really move the needle. There may be grants that could be applied for, but even that requires people that know what they're doing. And writing grant proposals itself is a very specialized skill. As I looked at the nonprofit route more and more, I saw a lot of obstacles that could not just slow, but even cripple this project. There's likely reasons that we don't have a lot of successful nonprofits in the community today. We have a lot of people who excitedly and with the right reasons want to create something like that, but it's a very difficult path filled with obstacles after obstacles after obstacles to gaining any real forward momentum. The idea is wonderful, but the execution of it, again, where the rubber meets the road, it's not an easy path. It's not what people think it is. So then my solution to all of this is to follow the lead of so many other things that I've already done. I've already proven a certain model. I much prefer the ethical business model. Think Tom's shoes. Buy one, donate one type of deal. In my cult recovery coaching program, I charge a relatively low rate for my services because I know the community that I work in, but I also have a pay what you can option and agree to lower my already low rate by up to 50% if needed. I've been doing that for years. I've had a scholarship program that people donated to over the years, and then I would agree to cut my fees in half to stretch the money to help everyone that I could. I've got my annual XJW Help Day that I do every September, where people donate and then I match donations, and we take this money out into the community and do random acts of kindness to benefit others and to encourage others to do the same. None of that was ever done with a nonprofit entity, and it's allowed me to get things done quickly, simply, and to be nimble where needed so that I don't have to have board approvals or government filings in order to get things done and to get help where it's actually needed. So that's exactly what I plan on doing here. I'm going to create a paid membership site where people can pay a monthly membership fee to access all of this. Those membership fees will go to pay for all the resources that are used in the creation of this, from tools and platforms to services needed and entities created, maybe an LLC or something like that. The time and efforts of the people who are actually bringing the resources into the community and to bring in those particular skills when needed. I could see there being maybe even some a la carte services as it grows to keep prices down, because not everybody is going to need all of the things, right? People would be coming for different reasons. So in the end, I see a baseline membership cost that will cover everything except for maybe some individualized care that goes above and beyond. All right, but how much, right? That's what everybody always wants to know. What's it going to cost? What's the number? Look, I'm unsure right now. I'm getting into this thing and I'm going to be finding out a lot as I go. But some of it's going to also depend on how many of you want to participate. If there's not very many, then obviously I would have to charge more. The more, the merrier. So everything that I've started in my life, I've started with very little capital. I like to refer to myself as the king of low-cost startups. Rather cheap, and I save money anywhere that I can, and I'll do things in order to keep costs low. But at the same time, certain things are just going to cost money. Taxes eat up money. Fees on platforms like Patreon eat up money. There are monthly expenses. I've already increased my personal monthly outflow just buying some services already in preparation for this, in order to create certain things. So there are tools, there are things that are going to be necessary. And I can see this easily taking, for myself, taking as much time as an additional full-time week on my schedule each month. I mean, this is not a small undertaking. So I will say now that I could see this easily costing maybe like $50 a month. And I think that honestly, if you looked around at a lot of coaching services and things that were out there, particularly involved in business and marketing and jobs and such, it's pretty inexpensive. But we'll see as we go. I think I'm probably going to launch it at like $30 a month and maybe limit the seats to get it started to see how it goes. Maybe raise the price as more content is created for it and as the value builds over time. But we're going to see. And in the end, I know that a lot of people are struggling and they're not going to be able to afford to pay anything, right? Or maybe some people will be able to pay something, but not all of it. So for every paid subscription month, if you have a subscription, I want to make available a donated month to somebody in need. So it's like a buy one, get one free sale every month that you can gift to somebody in need. Maybe you don't even want or need this in your life, but maybe you'd be willing to buy a monthly membership at $30 a month just to give that spot away to somebody else. That would be cool too. Or maybe you're willing to buy a month. Maybe you don't really need it, but maybe you have some expertise or you've gone down some paths in your life and you would like to buy that month, donate the extra membership to somebody else. And then maybe you want to come into the group and share some of your knowledge or whatever the case may be. I mean, certainly volunteerism will not be discouraged, but unlike Watchtower, it's not necessary for your survival. It's not something that is going to be pushed. I'm not going to turn away help. It would be a lovely way to help if you want to, but none of that is coerced or expected. It's just one way that you could support all of this if you so choose. But ultimately, money is going to be needed to fund all of this. That's got to come from somewhere. The goal is to help lift the community and to help people make more money in their careers or their business. So nobody should really have to work for free anymore. We're in the real world now. We're not slaving like good for nothing slaves for a cult. If somebody wants to volunteer to help, cool. It's not expected. We're in the real world. Let's act like it. And that brings us to our final point, number 5. How can you help today, right now? So as I see it currently, there are 6 categories of people that I would love to hear from. And I'm going to give you all the opportunity to kick all of this off. If you go to exjwhelp.com, scroll about 3/4 of the way down the page, you're going to see a group of boxes. One of those says the Uprising Project. So if you click Learn More, you're going to then go to a page that has 6 different applications to choose from based on the 6 categories that I want to communicate with. Each application is going to ask for various information, including contact information, just in case I need to reach back. Now, don't expect me to reach back. I may be buried under this with everything else that I do. It's Christmas season. There's a lot going on. I'm interviewing both Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. I am interviewing people for podcast episodes. So I'm a busy guy, but I may need to reach out to people. I may need some clarification, whatever the case may be. So I am going to ask for some contact information so that we can get this thing rolling. If I put this out there and there's no interest and I don't get any applications back, now we got a real problem. And maybe the community isn't interested in something like this. That's fair too. Though I've already gotten a good response from anybody that I've mentioned this idea to in preparation for this moment. So I'm hoping that you're going to be excited about this as well and the possibilities of either helping yourself or helping others. Those 6 applications are going to be for the following 6 categories. You may find yourself in more than one, and if you do, submit to each that applies to you if that's the case. Number 1, job seekers. If you're a person that's stuck and needs a job to get out of a bad situation, or maybe you're struggling and need new opportunities for traditional employment of some sort, or if you're trying but you're struggling because you're not sure about how to really put together a resume or what an interview even consists of, reach out. Number 2, employers. If you own a business and you'd like to help this community of great people that have so much untapped potential, a hungry bunch of people that just need a chance, and you want to provide a good working environment to people that have at times lost everything, you can be a part of helping this community rise. Please fill out that application and let me know what you're looking for and what you can offer. Number three, recruiters, headhunters, and staffing agencies. If you are a person that helps people find jobs, this could be a great way to find leads for your business of placing individuals into various careers. It's not always easy to find people that want to work. Again, we could be a hungry bunch that's willing to work and that has a lot of potential. Customer service is likely a great fit for many from this community. So fill out the application and let's talk. Number four, professional marketers and advertisers. If you help people put their businesses out there and you have a track record of bringing people leads in whatever area it may be, please let me know. And we can talk about opportunities to create those win-win situations for everyone. Number five, resume and interview help. If you have a background in helping people with their resumes, maybe you've got a background in interview prep. Heck, maybe you were the person who did the interviewing somewhere. Please reach out and let me know if you'd like to help. There may be opportunities there. And finally, number six, tips and leads. If you know of a great employer that I should reach out to that you think might love to get involved in a cause like this, please let me know. If you have something else to share that maybe isn't covered by one of the other applications, fill this one out, send it in, and I'll give it a consideration. Maybe it's something that I never thought of. And the last way you can really help is by sharing this. Please share this. Post this wherever you think you would find people that might be interested from our community. Tell your friends that might be in a bad spot. This podcast and YouTube channel reaches only a tiny fraction of the XJW community. I'm hoping to be absolutely inundated with correspondence and applications to consider, and I can't do it all on my own. I need you. I need you to share this. And people that might need something like this need you too. They need to see it. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, like it, comment under it, subscribe. That way we can get YouTube to show it and maybe reach more people without even having to post it in a group or something. If you think that this is a good idea and could help, please show your support. With my involvement in the fellowship mentioned earlier, perhaps what we do here could grow to involve and help other communities that desperately need it as well. The uprising starts as early as today, so reach out to those applications. I need to hear from you. Keep following for more announcements as this thing is built out. I will keep you up to date. In the end, it's living well that is the best revenge. So let's help more people to do that.